Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast, stories of inspiration, where we talk about mental health, addiction, religion, becoming a business owner and self-sufficient, for what, when, where, and why. Join us and we can be your local hope dealer.
Inspiration and dedication. I came a long way from sleeping in them pages. I got my life back. I feel amazing. Life's a book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned in to the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter.
And now, a word from your local hope dealer.
Speaker.
Oh,
That's
that's
the coolest
amazing,
speaker meeting
yeah.
I've ever been to.
Yeah.
We are live.
Perfect. Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott.
I'm Katie McDermott.
And today joining us at the table is Denise. How are you doing, Denise?
I'm good.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing your baby. Thank you for wanting to come on so much that this worked. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Glad
for
to
that.
be here.
Awesome. Well, normally I dive we just pretty much dive right on in. I just try to learn your story because I feel like, well, what happened is what made you who you are, regardless good, bad, or indifferent. So I just start in childhood and then we work our way to where you are now. Where would you say your story starts?
So very young, I had to deal with my parents' addiction. I remember one of my first memories with my dad was making drinks for him and his friends, having to get a chair to make the drinks. My dad was pretty abusive, so when I didn't make the drinks right, he whooped me. So that was always fun to have, to never know. So I grew up in a lot of chaos is the best.
Understood. Well, hey, and I know I'd say, I'll probably reiterate this 100 times, but the reason it's called Stories of Success is even making your way out of that is successful, period. So I'm glad that you're here today and it didn't go other directions. What is your first good memory?
No, that's a good one. Probably, I found out I had a sister and a brother at 12.
Oh, cool.
And they were older. So I went to Missouri to live with my sister for a summer. And that was a lot of fun. Got to be a little free and not live in the chaos.
Yeah. Okay. So we pulled you out of it a little bit. Yeah. What did mom and dad do for work?
My mom always had 3 jobs growing up. Like a bartender was usually one of those, and then she worked at a gas station for a while, and just random things. The third one would always come and go.
Gotcha. So 2 main ones, and the third one just Okay. Baby. Yeah. No, and this is perfect. I'm so grateful that you were able to bring her on, and this is gonna be fun, man. I like kids so much. We're trying so hard to have one, but I want to ask it as a broad statement, so whatever you are okay to answer. Was there any abuse or trauma in your childhood?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad was very abusive. He drank whiskey, and did cocaine.
That's bad mix.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
That was a lot. It was always, like I'd get home from school and you don't know what you're walking into. Some days it'd be okay to be asleep, and then other days he would be up and ready to fight. I look a lot like my mom.
Okay.
So I feel like some of that stuff came from his feelings towards my mom.
Yeah. Bled onto the kids. That's too bad. That's too bad. You'll catch me keep looking down, and but I don't always go off this. I don't know why I explain myself so much, but I like to. But did you ever get sober?
When he couldn't drink anymore.
Okay.
He's still alive right now, but he's sick.
Gotcha.
So maybe 5 years or so he hasn't drank, but it was just because he couldn't.
Couldn't anymore. Yeah, that sucks, man. Well, Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Who was the most influential person in your life?
Probably my grandmothers.
Cool.
I don't think that I would be alive without them. Because where my parents fell short, grandmas were always there.
Well, grandmas are great.
Yeah.
Honestly, always relating, never comparing. I had a good childhood, really. If there was an ideal childhood, I probably had it, honestly. But even grandparents, that aspect, you can have the best childhood. Grandparents still make up for the parents' shortcomings.
Yes.
But that's very cool that they made up for more shortcomings. That's cool.
I find that sometimes it's the opposite. Like, say you have an amazing childhood, your parents are great. Sometimes your grandparents are a little grumpy, stickler, things like that. So, but
Yeah, that was my grandpa compared to my grandma. My grandpa was hard to deal
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, it was a different time though, then too,
Mhm. Well, where did you grow up?
Grass Lake.
Grass Lake. Okay, go to school out in Grass Lake?
Yeah. Till 6th grade, and then moved around a lot.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You can't have that.
You're funny, kiddo.
My mom, taste in men was pretty bad. So I remember a couple different times moving in the middle of the night, type of thing. So that's where I learned what love was between my mom and my dad. I didn't really have a good example of what people are supposed to do to each other.
Well, that might it sucks that you went through it, and I am very sorry, but it does good. It does lead good for the next generation. Now you know what not to do, and you always be better than your parents.
Yeah.
That's always the goal.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of my things with my addiction, I think why it took off so heavy, is because from a very young age, I didn't want to be an alcoholic. So that opened the door for other things, right? At 19, I tried cocaine. By the end of that year, I was on here.
Gotcha.
So.
And I guess it's funny you say that, because when I first started getting sober, well, I'm not drinking, but I'm doing good. An 8-ball every other night.
Right.
But I'm not drinking.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, well, you're still killing yourself.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, just different.
Yeah, man. She struggled with that with me, because she was the one putting that in my head. Like, hey, don't, and it don't click till it clicks.
Yeah,
Clearly,
absolutely.
Absolutely. What was your favorite part or place of where you grew up?
I stayed with a lot of friends. Actually, Tony's baby mama, Katie, I was really good friends with her sister, Sarah. Her parents took care of me for some years, like with no question, never made me feel like I wasn't a part of the family. So
That can be
Yeah.
very welcoming. Which is crazy, because you never judge a book by its cover,
Right.
but you see and you're like, no, they're not gonna like it. And then you meet them and it's like, wow, I've never been welcomed more by anybody in my life. Yeah. Do you have any childhood friends you still talk to?
Yeah, my best friend, we met when we were like 14. We're still really good friends.
Cool.
But I'm still in contact with a lot of people that didn't die, probably 60% of the people I went to school with have passed away from heroin addiction.
I was just gonna say that's probably in line with, unfortunately, what we choose to do to ourselves. So, what's your favorite memory of childhood, and what's your least favorite?
My favorite would probably be, I don't know, I don't have a lot of good memories, honestly. Probably some with my sister.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to pry it.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of that stuff was like pushed out of my mind, I feel like, through my addiction.
Understood.
do you remember a lot of childhood?
Not really. I feel like a lot of that was, whatever that's called, where you just
Where your
block it
brain
out
protects
and you're
yourself.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's more your line of questioning, but I was gonna say when it comes to stuff of that nature, do you think that your brain pushed it out, like because you just don't want to remember?
Yeah, I did a lot of therapy, probably 4 years. Like after I got off, first time I went to jail is when I stopped doing heroin. When I got out of jail, I went for 7.5 months and then went to a probation center. And then when I got out, I convinced myself I didn't have a problem with meth. So I could do that for fun.
Yeah.
It Didn't work out so well.
It's funny how that works because it's you go for drinking and it's like, well, I didn't have a problem with it. But then the drug we're talking about, like say that in a normal conversation with somebody and they're like,
Yeah, right. What do you mean? Yeah.
What do you mean, dude?
Yeah.
That's it's always funny to me.
I do think that it's wild that some people can recreationally do stuff like that. I'm like, how?
Not me.
Yeah, no, not me either. No. Yeah, not us. Really, let's be real. There's no recreation. And it's funny that they even can put that word in there, recreational cocaine.
Yeah, like the people I know that would do cocaine just on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. The weekend ends on like Wednesday night.
Yeah, about 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday 5 p.m.
Oh, that's terrible. It's funny. Pre-K. I really do try to go all the way through. How was it going to school, being a child in that environment and situation?
I don't know. I went to Grass Lake and there was a lot of money there. So to not have money, I kind of felt left out of the circle. I did have a couple good friends there, that same situation, their parents were broke too. So
I dislike that for the school system because no matter what school you go to, I'm in Fowlerville and I didn't come from money, but the like you said, everybody there had money. Yeah. And we very stuck out, like if you didn't have money, it stuck out. And I felt bad for those kids. Yeah. Like I very much did. Yeah. Because it had no fault of your own. Like your parents had made wrong decisions or whatever. It might not even be wrong decisions. Yeah. We wound up living in a car for a year. Not living, but driving. I mean, we shared a car for everything. So I understand.
So was there a lot of like nepotism there? I come from a very small school where one or two last names were the whole school, the whole town.
Grass Lake's small, but not that small. Like everybody knows everybody. People still call my mom to this day to tell on me about things.
Like I'm gonna call your mom.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it just happened a couple years ago. I don't even remember what it was, but people thought that my mom should know about it, and I'm like, I'm grown, I can do what I want. But.
Man, that's funny getting told on it as your own adult.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher, and what was your favorite subject?
Science was always my favorite.
Right here, look, I got 3 more for you.
Yeah. Hey, this is great. You marked this season 2. Sorry.
Yes, I did.
Oh, perfect.
What was the question?
What was your favorite teacher and favorite
I
subject?
don't remember the teacher.
Okay.
Was there like a specific area of science you really liked?
No, I just liked it. And then like when I took my GED test, I'm like, I don't know math. And they're like, how do you love science and math?
I love science and I'm not the best fan.
Yeah.
So
I could figure the math out when I had to for science, but I didn't.
Yeah, they do kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
They do,
Yeah.
What did a normal day look like for you?
Ooh, if I was at a friend's house, it would be normal, like wake up for breakfast.
Gotcha.
At home, when I was at my dad's house, it was always unknown. Like he could still be up drinking and doing things, or he'd be asleep and you got to be quiet and don't wake him.
Gotcha.
So.
Do you think did he ever? And I'm not trying to pry too much. So if I ever ask something, just tell me to shut up. Do you think did he ever let you do drugs or drink? And do you think that contributed to it?
So I started smoking. I waited till I was 18 to let my parents know I smoked weed.
Okay.
But he did do drugs with my brothers.
Understood.
So.
Understood.
My one brother was 9 when they started doing cocaine together.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we it's not so my family was drugs, but until you're 18, it's still not healthy. Like it's still not healthy. It's just a different type of unhealthy.
Yeah, my dad was always famous for sitting there smoking and doing lines, being like, "Do as I say, not as I do." Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Man, you guys are.
As a kid, though, like there's like a meme where it's like. I see my mom do sugar with her nose, like eat sugar with her nose, like so, like you knew what it was.
Yeah.
like it wasn't like you accidentally seen something.
Yeah.
So like was that well known by
It
like
was so present in the house that I knew nothing happened.
okay.
Okay.
There wasn't, I remember one time we got in trouble because we went to school and we smelled like weed. And like I was so embarrassed that my dad came up there and like screamed and
Wow.
fussing at the principal and everybody, you know, like,
Well, back then it's super. Back then it wasn't that long ago, but I mean, it was illegal. It's super illegal. So
Yeah.
you could get in some trouble for that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. So any trouble in your high school years? And was there any suspensions?
yeah, I got into a lot of fights.
Okay.
Hey, here. But I dropped out in 11th grade because I had moved so much. Somewhere along the lines, my credits had all been lost.
Oh,
So they wanted me to start over from 9th grade. And then, you know, I knew better, so I just quit.
Mhm.
Had to get my probation. Part of my probation was getting my GED.
Okay.
So I did that 6 years ago or something.
Good. Okay. So I mean, we'll go back into the story, but you just so 6 years ago you got put on probation. So you just got your GED 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well,
Yep.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, well that's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah, what does they say? You're never late until the closing prayer. So you ain't late. You know.
Yeah.
No. Awesome. So, is there anything you would change about your schooling experience? Probably besides not graduating. I'll throw it in there.
Well, the the not being able to go to college, like not realizing how important school was, because you know nobody really noticed, right? I was with a friend, so if I didn't go to school, and they called my mom, she didn't really pay much attention, you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, she's not at school type.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where she. It's funny, the different reasons, but I it's probably been present in a lot of childhoods.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
You know. What's your learning style?
you mean like hands-on?
Yeah.
Yeah, hands-on. I like to do it. I mean, I can read about things, but I don't ever really comprehend that.
Gotcha. Well, a couple of compliments that I will throw your way. You have mothers have patience, but I commend you. I commend you a lot. Thank you for coming on, and telling your story while being. What's the word I'm looking for? Thank really. No, but really, thank you. Thank you.
I would call I'm not a doctor, I don't have patience.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
geez.
amazing how it just happens.
Yeah.
You know, well, not for everybody, but for me it did. I think that's one of the blessings of waiting so late in life to have kids.
Do you ever get like overstimulated and
Oh yeah. But I have a huge support system. Because of being a single mom, I moved back to my brother's house. She's got 5 kids, so she's like a fucking right? Like she can just do multiple things at once, and I'm like, I just need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's great to have a support system
Yes,
like that.
I'm so glad.
it takes a village?
Well, and that's very great that you found support, even if maybe your parents or whatever weren't like your
Mhm.
brother or your brother's wife or
Yes.
whatever it sounds like. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we all are in recovery now. There was a time where all of us and their girlfriends were all on heroin.
Okay.
A couple of them have to use Suboxone, which people don't realize when you start drugs so young that sometimes you just try it, right? And you have to have something to create normalcy.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of my friends are dead.
Okay.
But so it's really surprising. The 6 of us.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you'll never hear me say anything about anybody. If that's what you have to do to get sober, I am 100% game with it. I
Yeah.
don't care what you got to do to get sober.
You can't have that.
Well, there's a difference, I think, between replacing your addiction and harm reduction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you will create more harm if there's not something supplementing the issues that you have created for yourself or that have just been created by using for so long and so
Mhm.
young.
Yes. Yeah, it took me a lot of therapy to be able to like process some of that stuff, and move forward from the PTSD and the trauma, you know. I dated men like my dad, so that caused more trauma.
Most definitely.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, little one. What?
Okay.
Funny. What came after school? What was your first job?
I waitress, but by the time that I started my addiction at 19, which very quickly turned into stripping.
Okay.
And I did that for like 13 years
Okay.
to pay for my addiction.
Well,
Were you comfortable when
No.
you did it?
No, absolutely not. Like I'm not that person. Like
It was
like
a
a hard-
hard thing.
yeah, I just knew I had to get the drugs. So that turned into me because I wasn't very confident naked. I figured out I could sell drugs to the girls there. Look like it. And that's how
that caught me off guard. But clearly I don't know anybody's story that comes on here, but some things I'm like, I did not know that. So I'm trying to regroup over here. Okay. How long did you hold the waitressing job, and how long did you hold the second job, and why did you leave both?
the waitressing, I could make more money.
Oh yeah, no worries.
So
This
you
is
just
why we go live.
could make more money doing waitressing or
Stripping.
stripping.
Yeah.
And then
the selling the drugs to the girls, it was really easy money because they basically paid for me to do my drugs.
right, but did you have to be under the influence to actually
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I did try to go back sober, and I ended up getting really drunk because it's not. I'm just not that. Right. But the difference of being able to do things when you're 19 versus in your late 20s is
yes.
a big difference. So
Do you think that line of work? I don't know how to word this. It almost seems like drugs have to be involved with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It really.
and
does.
then it caused more trauma. I was pretty close to raped in a Detroit club,
Okay.
which made me start carrying a gun.
Okay.
Because nobody protected me, right?
Mhm.
They had the bouncers and all that, but I didn't pay them enough for them to do anything about it.
I feel like
Easy for them to care about you. You have to
Mhm.
pay money.
I feel like any sort of sex work, because that's what it is.
Mhm.
You either have to have like the mental capacity or the, I don't want to say issues,
Mhm.
but have the trauma to where it's like promiscuity, and it's like
Yeah.
you're fixing something by
Yeah.
doing that,
Mhm.
or you're on drugs, or you drink, and like that's just, oh, I can pay for that, or it's like out of necessity, like that's the only
Yeah.
thing that you think you can do, so you
Mhm.
go do that.
Well, yeah, and then like a couple years in, thinking about trying to go get a different job. What am I going to put on my resume, right? I've been at
Well, that's about
Potters for 5 years,
Framework.
you know?
I was in the entertainment business.
Right.
I'm really good with people.
I had my own business.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask, how do you and we won't stay much longer in this, but how do you get into doing that? Like who brought you into that? Because that seems like it's
So actually, my cousin's girlfriend, we were drinking at Page One, and she come in. She worked at Little Mac, Odyssey, or whatever that.
Oh, it hasn't been called Odyssey in a while.
Yeah, whatever that. Right. So that's how long ago this was. But she's like, "Hey, we're having an amateur contest. Come down." I won a couple $100, so I was like, "Perfect,
Oh,
easy
yeah.
money."
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like after that day, but.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got out. Well, if you wanted to, I'm glad you got out of it. Awesome. So you said your addiction started at 19. I asked the question, how old are you currently? So you said you are 38, correct?
39.
39. Okay.
I'll be 40 in December.
Okay. Okay. If I can ask, what was your drug of choice?
Heroin.
Okay, that's a hard one to get off of.
Mhm.
Definitely. So.
Yeah, that was the first time, and it's like sounds so crazy to say, but it was the first time that my life was stable, right? I knew what to expect when I had those drugs.
Yeah.
Like I knew how I'd feel, I'd be numb, I didn't have to think about all the things.
Yeah.
Did you have a specific delivery method you preferred?
IV.
Understood. How did you find this drug, and how did it really start?
Oxycontin's first, and then honestly, I didn't even care what it was. It was just cheaper, was what I was told. I didn't even care to find out you could smoke heroin.
Mhm.
First time I did it, I shot up.
Okay.
It was a nurse
Wow.
that showed me.
That's
Friend who was
crazy.
getting high as well, but yeah.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So she's like, let me show you how to do it right so you don't get scars.
Okay. Well, I got silver linings.
Yeah,
Silver
yeah.
linings there. Yeah. Were there any instant consequences?
No, not really. Honestly, I did heroin alone for I think like 7 or 8 years, and then started like really getting into the cocaine and the meth and that. And I never got in any trouble.
Wow.
Meth. Now, as soon as I started doing meth, I'd say within a year, and then I couldn't quit for probation. But I told myself it was heroin that I had a problem with, right?
Yeah.
Not meth. That was just for fun.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but most drug users, me included, have never had an upper or a downer preference. It seems like when you go from one to another.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with people with our predisposition.
Yeah.
And were there any long-term consequences?
Yeah. I mean, now I have a pretty extensive criminal history.
Okay.
You know, I got really lucky though because I'd never been in trouble when I got my first charges. They tried hitting me with 2 deliveries.
Wow.
One didn't stick because they had the address wrong, and it was just kind of a whole shady thing. The other one did. So I got lucky. I got sent to the probation center. That was 6 months. I came home. He gave me once a month drops, so that was 24 days to get high, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
duh, what an idiot.
Yeah.
That didn't work the second month. First month it did. So then I was in and out of jail for a couple more years until I maxed out. But right before I got arrested, the very last time, the person I was with had drugs. I was in the passenger seat. They had drugs in the center console, and because of my history, the cops let them say it was mine. But it got me into treatment court.
Good.
Because with delivery charge, you can't go in treatment court. So it really saved my life, right? Like I stopped heroin, but I was ready to give up that side of my life, you know. What about that?
No, that's no. Well, the treatment court saved my life as well. So what it was like, since I kind of gave you a rundown of how I treat things, what it was like. So, how did you live? Kind of gonna not rapid fire, but
By selling drugs.
okay. Where did you live?
Anywhere that would let me sell dope.
How many jail stays?
I don't even know, about 3.5 years worth.
Fair enough.
And then how, yeah.
It's funny you say that. 'Cause
Yeah.
mine's like I can tell you how many years. I
Yeah,
can't tell you how many
yeah.
times.
I probably was arrested 20 times.
Understood. Did you lose anything besides friends that we previously talked about?
Yeah, I lost myself really in my addiction because I didn't think that I mattered. I didn't think that I was worth caring about. I thought I was gonna die before I would actually come out of my addiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What did a normal day look like for you during your addiction?
Riding around selling drugs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it's I didn't write this down, but I am gonna. It doesn't always start off bad, and there was fun mixed in with the bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just being honest. You
Yeah.
know, like most of it was bad. There was fun in there. How long until it started being bad?
I would say honestly, and that's probably because selling drugs was in my childhood, so I kind of knew how to do it.
Yeah.
I had people that knew my dad, so I had credit, you know, so it didn't get bad for me until the setup happened and the police were watching me.
Yeah.
And that seemed like everybody that was coming over to the house at that time was sent by Janet.
Understood. So it ended up being good for you, though.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. What happened? So what started happening to make you want to change?
When I went to jail for the first time, so I never even got an NIP or anything.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive.
So first time getting in handcuffs, I was going for a delivery of meth.
Wow.
So that was super scary.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's when it was like, man, I don't want to live like this, you know, but I couldn't let go of the whole life, right? I still wanted the money. So when I got out of jail, I can sell it without doing it. You know,
Yeah.
it works a day.
Yeah. I was
You
gonna
know.
say maybe a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote that. Was there a turning point besides going to jail? Like so, I guess I'll explain my like there was a day I woke up and I just never drank again. Was there a day that you said enough is enough? Like was there a turning point?
Yeah. So when I just went to treatment, my probation officer had let me go, and then I came home, found out I had court.
Yep.
Looked it up and seen the charges was for possession of meth and a possession of fentanyl.
Okay.
So I got scared and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go straight to the trap house. Well, they
Yeah.
ended up, somebody called me in
Mhm.
and told Low Dice where I was at.
Oh, geez.
So they come and got me the very next morning, and I was like, I don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
shit. Yeah.
my car was completely ran through. They stole everything that was worth value out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, what am I loyal to these people for?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because they're loyal to the next dollar,
Yeah.
or I mean, and nobody's really your friend, really, or they could be your best friend. You introduce drugs into the mix, and they're no longer your best friend. That's crazy how that works.
So what were your biggest challenges when you first started your journey into recovery?
Again, I was pretty lucky because I was the last out of my siblings to get sober. So like people were already showing me how to do that.
Awesome.
But I do remember like when I was still in jail that I kept telling people like, there's no way my sister-in-law's not smoking crack, right? Like she loves smoking crack. She's not happy if she's not smoking crack.
Mm-hmm.
Because the perception of what recovery is was not in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was on regular probation, it was because I had to not do drugs.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I wanted to not do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So treatment court helped me with that because I was looking at 10 years was my best case scenario. So I'm like, well, I can at least give this a try.
Yeah.
Right? You want this?
And I will reiterate, do not ever feel bad or anything. This has been probably one of my favorite ones with little kids. So you're looking at 10 years. I understand that. I was looking at 25. I had other stuff involved, and it was just, but recovery court saved my life.
Yeah,
So it sounds like it did the same for you. That's awesome. That's awesome. What was new? I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. Well, was Newell the head of recovery court when you
No.
went through it? No. Okay.
Shelly.
Shelly, I love Shelly.
Me
I
too.
do. She's so she took me to when I got in trouble and I had charges in Detroit. She took me out to Detroit for my charges. She was just the what was she at that point? I don't know.
Probably
She worked
just the
for Home
coach.
Division or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just, but she drove me out there with Kelly. Do you remember
Kelly
Kelly?
Beck.
No, with yeah, I really miss
Yeah.
her, like her, but no, Kevin Spielberg. Do you remember him?
Mhm.
Kevin, yeah, he lives in Chicago now, but him and Shelly drove me out there, and then, I owe a lot to those guys.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
truly do.
absolutely.
I could have went to jail for a year out there, and they came and said he's doing good, and yada yada yada, and they dismissed my charges in
Yeah,
McComb
that's
County.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
was like, holy cow! But what is the hardest part of getting sober? What was the hardest part?
For me, and I kind of touched on this when we were talking, but the
Mhm.
men,
Okay.
right? The terrible men that I thought was what a man was, right? Like if he beats me, he loves me.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest to let go of. I was with a guy in my addiction who he was good to me, right? He didn't hit on me or hit me.
Yeah.
But like as far as loving me the way I needed, he couldn't, right? But he wasn't capable of that. So fast forward a couple years after I got sober, I went back to that type of man. Quickly got out of it,
Mhm.
but
Hey,
have a baby now.
Silver linings, man. Silver
Yeah.
linings. How long have you been sober?
So my heroin last use was December 20th, 2019, and then my meth was March 3rd of 22.
Either way,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
all.
You're right up on 3 years then for
Perfect.
the
Yep.
And then 6 years for the other.
Yes.
right? Is that
Yes.
my math right
Yep.
there? Awesome.
Almost 6 years.
That's phenomenal, no matter how you cut it. That is, it's a huge feat. Yeah, I wrote the note relationships, but we already very vividly talked about those.
Yeah.
John, now being sober, what jobs have you held, and can you talk about your current one?
So I can speak kind of my current one. So I'm a transportation coordinator for Home and New Vision, which means I help people get to treatment, to the doctors.
I'll bounce around with her, walk around.
Oh, yeah, you love babies, don't you?
I do. What do I do?
And, so I get to serve people that are kind of the forgotten.
Yeah.
You know, just because they're on drugs doesn't mean they don't deserve simple things like a ride to the doctor, right? Or somebody, sometimes I go in with them because there's stigma in the doctors with people on drugs. Like they think that that's all they need to discuss. Like, no, they came in for an abscess, just treat the abscess. We know about the addiction, right? When you go in, and I experienced the same thing in my addiction. Like I would wait till it was time to cut it right off to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna die before I went in there. So, and that's one of the things that I'm like really proud to work with Home and New Vision about. We have a recovery coach in the hospital now.
Awesome.
Doctors are more aware of Suboxone and methadone and
the benefits. All that. You know, it's funny you say that because when I was a drunk, with mine most of the time I was sick because I was a drunk.
Right.
But it's like, it's because you're hungover. No, you know I'm allowed to get sick. Just because I'm a drunk doesn't mean like I'm allowed to not feel good. Like, there's other reasons I don't feel good because of being a drunk. Like, so that's very nice that you would go with them. That's nice. Awesome. And so what helped you the most? And thank you for this, Kate. You know, it's funny because I observe things when we get down to what it's like now, and that was very nice of you. Thank you, because this is the most important part.
Yeah.
Awesome. How did you get sober? 12 steps, SMART, etc.
So jail.
Okay.
That's where I quit heroin. I was detoxed for like 40 days before I finally could like eat. At 42 days, the jail came in and was like, "Do you want to start methadone?"
Wow.
I freaked out on the nurse, which later I felt guilty for because it wasn't really her fault. But I was like, "Where have you been for all these days? Like I'm dying in here, you know, drinking toilet water." It felt like, you know, so. But I'm thankful it happened like that because I don't know where I'd be, right? Like the methadone is a struggle to get off, you know, but I tell people now that like feel like they have a certain deadline that they have to be on or off Suboxone, methadone, anything like that, that just don't worry about what anybody else says, you know. I know people that are just fine being on it lifelong, you know.
Well, as long as it keeps you off of everything else, there is such thing as lesser of two evils.
And you don't judge people for taking their blood pressure medicine the way that they're supposed to, right? If you take your Suboxone or your methadone the way it's supposed to, then it's a medication.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I know a lot of people in the recovery community. This is not about me, so I say opinions, and that does not mean I agree with them one way or the other. But I hear people on the marijuana maintenance program, and it's like you're not taking it because nobody's prescribing it to you. But if you're smoking a joint compared to shooting dope, I'm
It's
not.
the harm reduction.
Yeah,
And like if you're like, so in this work, I've seen people that really their life is falling apart over weed, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time it's not.
Yep.
Like when I was in my addiction, when I was still smoking weed, I eventually quit because everybody quit.
Yeah.
You know, we were just sleeping on each other. But anyway, so before that, like it was I never robbed anybody or thought about taking somebody's things for a bag of weed, right? Like you could call a buddy and go smoke.
Yeah, for free. Yeah. I don't got to steal for that.
Yeah. So, you know, but I have seen people that like they really life is falling apart over weed.
Yep.
You know, so it is possible and anything can be a problem, right? Yeah. So it just comes from your own personal stuff.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I just I guess I was relating that the only way you can get sober and stay sober is Suboxone. You'll never ever hear me say nothing bad.
Right.
I don't care.
I support harm reduction. I'm glad that you've said it a couple times because people think that harm reduction is giving people the tools to use drugs.
Yeah.
Which really, it's not. It's keeping the infections and the AIDS and the
Yeah.
hepatitis and
Mhm.
all the dangers, and then they have somewhere to go give their needles back.
Yeah.
And you know,
Right.
reproduction isn't just for using.
Right.
It's for people who like cut themselves. Well, instead of cutting myself to where I'm going to be in the hospital, maybe I'll scratch myself. Maybe I'll
Right.
snap myself with a rubber band.
Right.
Maybe I'll do something where I can get the sensation, but I'm safe and I'm not going overboard.
No, most definitely.
Right.
Can you describe early experiences in recovery?
Everything was really intense in the
Yeah.
beginning. So I was in jail for long enough that I was like in that mentality where it was like, I gotta fight everybody, which
Mhm.
came from the street life
Mhm.
because I was 90 pounds out here selling dope,
Okay.
right? Like I had to be
Yeah.
scary and crazy and all the things.
Yeah.
But like that was hard for me to let go of like the people and the, because you really believe that they're your friend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, some of the addiction I found out it had nothing to do with the drug. It wasn't drugs.
yeah,
But there was a lot of other
yeah,
stuff.
the
like,
other parts of it.
man, it was fun sometimes staying up till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shit, like all the friends hanging out and
Right.
like you said, they're not.
Well, it's
Right.
quite literally ride or die.
Yeah.
Like you can literally die what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for a long period of my addiction, I didn't care, right? Like I did not care if I died. I couldn't kill myself, but I was not living like I wanted to actually be alive.
Yeah, kind of. It's crazy because you're right. Because you don't have the intention of killing yourself, but you're not doing anything to really save
Yeah.
your life
Out
either.
here doing the most, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm out here selling drugs and riding around at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
like an idiot.
Yep.
Or when, what happens when females get pulled over.
Yeah.
That was stupid too,
Yeah.
right? Like I could have died from that.
Yeah, yeah. Geez, you just said something kind of. How was it being a woman in addiction? I don't feel like that's asked enough because you guys have a lot of different challenges and a lot of different.
Things that I mean, not understand.
Yeah.
So like the stripping and the lifestyle of that and the manipulating people, right? It was always what benefit the people, whatever they were around, right? Like if you were hanging out with me, you were going to make these run for me,
Mhm.
right? But I'm going to get you high to
Yeah.
hang out with me so hopefully it's you that gets the charge
Yeah.
instead of me, honestly,
Yeah.
and that's how it went down for me.
Okay. What about on the reverse side? And if this is too touchy, I'll lay off. On the reverse side of things, being a woman in addiction, being around, I'll say violent men and stuff of that nature. Were you ever in jeopardy because of
Oh.
not just drugs?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I did have a boyfriend through 7 years of my addiction that was protective and people didn't hurt me because he was around.
Gotcha.
But before that, it was a man who he hurt me the most.
Understood. And that's crazy because it normally they say it starts at home.
Yeah.
Type idea. That's crazy.
And then like it got to the point where I would start the fights because I knew he would get me high after and then we could chill. Right.
Understood. Yeah, it's crazy, but and now it's healthy. But me and her will go through sometimes the same routine of like, well, we know we're gonna argue and then dinner will be made or whatever. Now it's healthy though. It's
Right.
not like,
Right.
oh,
Not
we're
the
gonna get
fist
high
fight.
after it. Yeah. How do you maintain your recovery now?
So I stay busy. Working where I work, it's a nice reminder of where I don't want to go back to.
Yeah.
And like probably a year ago was the first time I seen somebody after taking them to treatment. They're like, hey, I'm still sober.
Awesome.
And that was amazing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the people that used to get high with me, that it sparked something in them to get sober, that's the benefit. That helps so much because like I don't want to let myself down, my family down, like I'm doing things that I never thought I was capable of. Drive a nice car,
That is cool.
I have a job that I enjoy. It's kind of crap money, but any social work is,
Yeah, but they don't give you any mental health or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid what you deserve.
right.
But I guess you do get a lot of other. Katie talks about it a lot. She gets a lot of other.
Fulfilling
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
See, I'm not gonna lie. I am filled by money. It sounds straightforward, but other people,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish I would win the lottery.
Yeah.
I don't even have the money to play it. So
Fair enough. That's funny. Support system. I know we talked about it a little bit, but now that you've been sober for 3 years off of the one dope, what's your support system like now?
It's beautiful. I know. So funny story. When I was supposed to have my baby shower, I ended up being in the hospital. I had kidney stones really bad and had to have surgery. And my sister-in-law had my baby shower for me. So
That's cool.
without me, right?
Oh,
I chatted everybody from the hospital, but it was really nice that she still put it on, because 2 nights before we were supposed to have it, I was in the hospital. So.
Well, let's be real. Baby showers are to have support and see all your people, but also for the stuff. So that was nice that you
and that was amazing. Like, I had such an amazing turnout that I had diapers for her until she was like 6 months old.
Perfect. Yeah.
So, and like that for me was God lining things up because certain parts of it was going to be hard. So with that, it took out some of the responsibility being fully on me, right?
Yeah. Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and I stay away from that. And not because denying me in front of your friends, I'll deny you in front of my father. So I'm not trying to do all that.
Right.
But this is about you, not me. You said God. Do you think God played a big role in this?
Absolutely, right? So when I was sitting in the drunk tank still, I started detoxing really hard because I knew I had court that morning, and so I just did meth because I didn't want to be high, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting in the drunk tank, and I was like, God, if you just let me live through this, I'll never touch heroin again, right? And when I said that in my mind and in my heart, it was that leaves the door open for the other stuff.
Yeah.
But still to this day, I haven't craved heroin. I don't miss it. I don't miss the lifestyle.
Yep.
And slowly things work through with like the men and the, this is the longest I've been single since I lost my one. Right. I always thought I had to have a man because that's what I seen growing up.
Well, and unfortunately, the media and even people in the world portray that. And vice versa. Like, oh, well, you need a wife. You need somebody to cook for you. I mean, it's portrayed that way.
Yeah.
So, but it is okay to be alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's got its pluses and minuses for sure, but I don't mind it. I would like to be in a healthy relationship at some point in my life.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I do. We can circle back to the God thing. So I go to church 3 times a week.
Awesome.
It's definitely a big part of my recovery and what I learned through. So I do a meeting Tuesday nights at Home and New Vision at 5:00 that I work the steps through the recovery Bible.
Okay.
Because AA didn't really work for me because it was too like judgy. Yeah. It felt like,
for sure.
and like I'm got all these things, not just a drug problem.
Yeah.
So I like the multiple pathways for sure.
No, I agree completely. I go downtown group is the reason I got sober, and I will always give them a lot of credit for that. But that is not the only thing that can keep me sober.
Right.
Doing this has helped, but not just this, because not everybody can just go and pay for shit. And like,
Yeah.
But it's like I go to church, I go to AA. It's like there's a lot of different ways to stay sober.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
God, you just said something about it's not going to come back to it. But God was a huge role in me getting sober, and but I just started trying to stay away from it because a lot of people have their own beliefs and whatnot,
Yes.
and I don't want anybody not want to come on because I am so wholeheartedly God.
No, I get that, and like I have to deal with the same right at work. I can't bring it up first, right? If they bring it up, I can talk about it, but if I can't ever bring it up first. Like, hey, look, go to freaking church. Yeah. Try church.
Yeah.
So that's hard sometimes, but people, they want to know, right?
Yeah.
Especially people who knew me in my addiction are like, how are you happy? Because they seen me doing what I was doing, trying to kill myself.
And I see real happiness.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ did that. And
Yes.
that's awesome. That is, I had a hard time believing in God because my sister died. I had a very hard time. And Katie will vouch. One day I said, I can't drink no more. And belief in God restored. Like I said, I just never drank since that day. It was crazy. So I understand the whole, I'll never touch heroin again. And it's lifted. It was lifted. It's crazy.
Now, mind you, there are days that, because society is a lot more open with like alcohol.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Absolutely.
there's beer commercials. It's a hot day, grab a cold beer.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a perfect beer day, but
Yeah.
never again.
Well, and I tell people all the time, like, people don't say, hey, just do a little bit of heroin, right? Like, you can have one,
Yeah.
like, with alcohol. They're like, oh, come on, it can't be that bad.
Yeah, one shot.
Yeah, like, it's not that bad. It won't be that bad. Just have one. Like, people don't say that about even about men either,
Yeah.
right? They're not like, oh, just do a little, it'll be fine.
Yeah. No, don't do none.
Right.
Don't do any of it, and you'll be all right. What does a typical day look like now?
So Monday through Friday, I go to work. I work 40 hours a week, and I'm grateful for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people who aren't able to
You're
work,
fine.
or they, are stuck at a job they hate. I love my job, It's mentally exhausting sometimes, but that's where the self-care and the things have to come into. You have to have your own foundation of things, right? So, like, for me, that's where church comes in. The self-care is church for me because I get refilled, right?
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes I'm just broken person in here still, but it helps.
So you're doing big things regardless. Being a parent to me, and so my I kind of talk about myself, but I've noticed more viewers like when we are more receptive and
Mhm.
talk, and I always explain myself. So,
Yeah.
But I'm the last one with the last name McDermott that can have a boy. Super King James me, but I have to have a boy. So I think kids are the coolest thing ever, and I think
They
that's
really
the most successful thing you can do. So
she got tired of me.
yeah, I want mama. Hey, that's all right. We're getting close to the end. Just not my raffle questions yet, but I do give about 10, 15 in the morning, so just not all of a sudden I'm like, we're done. Now thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. How has your perspective? How has your perspective on life changed?
So I know that, like, through childhood up until the point I got sober, not just stopped doing drugs, when I actually got sober in recovery, I started planning for a future.
Yeah.
Was something that I never did. Like,
Mhm.
a credit score, what is even that for?
Yeah.
I don't need one of those, So
Hey, hello. Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
make it though.
They'll hear you, dude. All right, lady. Whatever. Everybody's dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's doing.
Everybody's.
I agree.
It's okay.
Is there any triggers that you need to be aware of?
I don't think he specifically just means for like using. I think he means like in general, if anything.
Yeah, so, like, one of the things that I still struggle with is, like, a man yelling. It puts me in a weird place. Like, not too long ago, a guy was yelling at his girlfriend, like, in the car next to me, and it just made me, like, go into this place where I haven't been in a long time. So then that was really weird for me.
Yeah.
Because you think that you're good, right?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had to deal with that in months, so I'm good, I'm healed, and then something happens, and you're like, oh my god, I'm not healed at all.
No, I understand for sure about triggers. Like what she was just saying about it can be a smell, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like I want to drink a beer.
Yeah.
How has your understanding of addiction evolved over time?
A lot. So, like, through learning about my addiction, I learned about my parents' addictions and gave me a lot more understanding of them as people, right? Like, yeah, they failed as what I needed as a kid, but they did the best they could, right? They were given crappy hands too,
Yep. Yeah, that's fucking growth. And I feel that is growth right there. To understand that is
Well, I think a lot of us,
nice.
it takes a long time for a lot of us to get to the point where like our parents were too.
Yeah.
Not just mom and
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah, because it was like, I always thought that my mom forced me to have a relationship with my dad, and I hated that about her, and I see now, like, why she did it, right? She thought it was the right thing to do. I don't think, would have done it had she known the trauma that it caused for me. She just wanted to get away for her trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that.
Oh, definitely. What is the most important lesson you have learned?
Probably nobody can do it for you. The work yourself, to have the life you want, right? Like I get up every day. I don't set a lot of huge goals, but I set small goals and I get them, which is something that I also didn't do growing up. Right? Like there was no goals, there was no dreams, there was no. We're okay here. So here for a second.
Well, it's funny you said that. I don't have my phone on me. If you ever look into Audible and you look up the wisdom of bullfrog, there's a guy. There's a huge. But anyways, there's this whole spiel that he did. Oh, little one. Look a little longer. We're almost there, kiddo. What was I saying? Well, pretty much what he says is that if you make your bed in the morning and just little goals, and you just feel fulfilled by the end of the day. So, awesome. So, is there any advice you would give to somebody struggling, and what are you most grateful for in recovery?
I would say build your team, build your people. I try to look for people who have things that I want, like a healthy relationship or a job that I love, things like that.
Yep.
Those are the people I want to learn from.
Yep. No, I
I'm crazy.
completely understand. What are your hopes for the future?
To be able to retire. Like, that was never part of my plan. So like how I'm actually gonna do that is kind of scary.
Fair enough. So my wrap-up question, I'm gonna throw a new one in here. It's not a wrap-up question. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. I give you a lot of credit. And it's never to stroke anybody's ego, but seriously, you're the first one to come on with your kid in the terms of being on the show, and I'm very grateful and thankful because it shows what we're trying to accomplish, and it shows the patience, and that's success in itself.
Yeah,
so really
absolutely.
Thank you for that, seriously.
Glad to be here.
Is there anything that I missed that
You can't open my door.
She's gonna go beeping off the corner out there.
There you go.
Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to share?
No, I'm glad I came.
Perfect, thank you. I believe stories save lives, and really, I think this kid, it's beneficial for me in the terms of what I'm trying to do. Because I already know when you go through AA, it's beneficial for the guests too, like speaking on their life.
Yes, absolutely. And like, I think that helps people to understand themselves, right? Because like that's where I got a lot of my understanding from, was people that were further ahead than me, and they took the time to do work and found out this therapy works for them, this didn't, but try both, that type of stuff.
Well, you want to be the seventh millionaire, sit at a table with six of them. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you're saying, just in different words. Is that if you want a good job, hang around people with good jobs.
Yes.
If you want to be sober, probably hang around people that are sober,
Yeah,
So that's,
and like actually happy, right? Because I know I see a lot of people who are like, I was on probation, right? You're just not doing drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not sober because I hate my life. I hate everything that I have to do and this and that,
Yeah, that is the blessing that I have found is sobriety. I'm happy. I'm not a dry.
Yes.
That's the win.
It's so amazing because like, very young age, emotions were not a thing in my house, right? Kids are supposed to be seen and not heard. So that was really hard, right? Like I just want to be a freaking kid and make some noise, and what I always had to worry about what's going on and who's there and don't wake them up and
The footsteps and all of that.
which was really, really hard. And that's one thing that like I'm probably the absolute most grateful for, because my daughter's not going to go through, right? No matter what that takes, I will die for 3 jobs to take care of her, so she doesn't have to do what I had to do.
I would die on that hill as well. That's awesome. What is your definition of success?
Probably boils back to being happy and content, right? Like I'm content with my life. I want better for myself, but where I am right now, I'm happy.
Hey, my old boss Phil has told me 1,000 times, but I loved it. It is the journey. It is the journey.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
Cool, Katie.
If there was one word you could use to describe your entire journey from where you started to where you're going to end up, what would it be?
Probably like a mountain, right? Gotta go all the way up and then all the way down to.
Katie has, she asked it one time and it just clicked. And now we're
Yeah.
trying to get two of the same words to try to do like a.
I'm trying to do like a scientific study of where words overlap in stories.
Yeah.
So
We have not gotten two of the same.
we have not. So, when that happens, maybe
Yeah.
then I can like do some study on that.
Yeah. So this week, it's not much, but $30 gift card to Rocky's Hair Design.
Oh.
Roasties. So they also do nails and other stuff.
Oh,
So
perfect.
it's a good start if you want to get into. But anyway, Rochi's Hair Design is a fourth generation family-owned salon that has been in the Jackson area for over 60 years. They have 7 stylists to choose from. 1513 West Morrell Street, Jackson, Michigan. 517-783-2794.
And I think it's Rochi's. I don't know, it might be Rockies.
But
I have no idea.
yep, so
Yeah.
they do nails, hair, whatever. I give a gift card at the end of every episode. So
Perfect.
I know how expensive stuff can be though, so it's a good start anyways. It doesn't
I
pay
need my
for it.
toast on that.
Self-care.
And then we will be signing off. Thank you guys for joining, but I was going to ask you before you go, if you will find the table.
And you can sign anywhere that you would like. All right, see you guys.
See you guys. Awesome.